Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me directly for pricing. It's in the description below, tmosso@thewatchbox.com, for pricing of this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Reach out to me directly, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Today, we are discussing probably the most hotly anticipated new Omega watch of the last decade. Launched in 2020 for the 50th anniversary of the recovery of the crippled Apollo 13 spacecraft, this is the Omega Speedmaster Professional Moon Watch Silver Snoopy 50th anniversary. A timepiece 42 millimeters in stainless steel, sapphire crystal 14.8 millimeters thick from lug to lug, 47.5 millimeters, and a 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Let's throw it on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference. Immediately, you notice it's a striking piece. At 42 millimeters, it must have seemed huge by the standards of 1970, when a timepiece this large must have felt like a wrist clock. But it's got a nice contemporary stance today that wears well and holds up well against modern wrists and modern tastes. Too thick to fit underneath most cuffs. Nevertheless, because it's less than 50 millimeters lug to lug, I can recommend it for a wrist as small as 14 centimeters circumference. Let's take a look at the hardware and the software. It's quite impressive. Here you see a textile in navy blue with a contrasting stitch. It is bolstered to give it some volume, and there's a folded edge, calfskin on the bottom. But take note, the trajectory of the Apollo 13 craft as it aborted its moon landing orbited around the opposite side of the moon and then used the inertia to slingshot its way back to Earth. Also well made. You can see there's a rubber gusset sewn in to prevent the pin from gouging the strap. That'll make for long wearing durability of the strap. And of course, a simple no-nonsense polished and slightly beveled Omega pin buckle in steel to match the steel case. This is the familiar 42 millimeter asymmetrical shear guard case we've known on the Speedmasters since 1964. Longitudinal satin finish on the case flank and expanding polished bevel, lyre-style lugs that fold both inward and outward. You can see they're satin finished inboard. The underside of the tachometer, all of high polish, and you can see it does have a pronounced cantilever that makes it a little bit more complex to wear with a cuff, but that's not really the point of this watch. It's not supposed to disappear. The asymmetrical case, originally coined to give some shear guard protection to the crown and chronograph pushers, it still does that. The tachometer insert here is blue ceramic for scratch resistance with a cold enamel fill for the letters, numerals, and characters. And then we have a sapphire crystal, not Hesselite, because this one is designed for armchair aviation rather than actual spaceflight. But make no mistake, the body of this watch, as well as the movement, still very much Moonwatch. Taking a look at the dial, it is considerably upscale, considered to be something like the richest Speedmaster dial since the 2007 50th anniversary with enamel. I consider this to be an absolute highlight of the watch. Caseback spectacular, but the dial is where the romance is for me. Applied and blued indices rather than the standard printed features of a standard moon watch. You also have an applied Omega logo. You have a lovely silver-white galvanized dial, but here's the thing. The dial is sterling silver. You can see HE925. So the color is galvanized. It really is made of precious metal silver. Very cool. Dished registers in blue. You can see that Snoopy, as drawn by Charles Schultz for NASA, decorates the constant seconds dial. This is the 50th anniversary of Omega's receiving the Silver Snoopy Award on October 5th, 1970. Of course, that was the year Apollo 13 was recovered, and the Silver Snoopy was an award NASA gave out to its finest suppliers of services and material. And of course, for the recovery of Apollo 13 and the role Omega played as the supplier of chronographs, it received the Silver Snoopy. And Schultz really did draw Snoopy in this form with the spacesuit and the bubble to represent the award itself. So this is a custom Charles Schultz drawing for NASA for that purpose. On the reverse side, let me show you something pretty cool. Take note, I'm going to unhack the movement. This is the first general use of hacking seconds on a standard Lamagna-based moon watch. Taking a look at the case back, you can see the metallization of the underside of the sapphire creates the image of the lunar surface. The cosmos is beyond. There is a command service module in which Snoopy flies, and that's actually attached to the backside of the pinion that drives the chronograph seconds hand. And then you can see the Earth is attached to the backside of the constant seconds pinion, so the Earth is constantly turning, and you can see it has a lovely lacquered texture. The watch does feature a Naiad caseback, this Naiad lock resurrecting a term from the 1960s. It used to be crowns, now it's casebacks. All it means is that the caseback will always align top to bottom so that the characters, the words, are in the correct spot. It guarantees that the case back always screws in and stops with the same alignment. Now, a lot of text back here. Naiad lock, caliber 3861, we'll talk about that. Silver Snoopy Award, October 5th, 1970, we just talked about that. Coaxial master chronometer. We first saw this on the 2019 50th anniversary Apollo 11 moonshine and steel watch. This is the first general use for standard moon watches and for the Snoopy as of 2020 and going forward. And of course, Apollo 13, April of 1970. That was the time the mission itself was flown. Now, underneath the case back, you've got that caliber 3861. It's still based on the Lamagna 1873, and it's probably going to be going out to NASA for the next generation of space-certified flight watches, but there are some big changes that benefit the customer and the watch enthusiast. So, still Lamagna-based, still manual wind, but now a 50-hour power reserve rather than a 48-hour power reserve. It is now 26 joules rather than 18, free sprung rather than a mobile stud index for toughness. It has an amagnetic silicon hairspring rather than the previous ferrous hairspring. It is a coaxial escapement, again, George Daniels' famous invention, probably still the most sophisticated escapement you can buy on a sub $50,000 watch. You have the new hacking seconds function, which is absolutely awesome, and the system still uses a cam and a lateral clutch for the chronograph for the purposes of durability. All of this 50 meters water resistant. It is a very cool watch, technically accomplished and now up to date as a master chronometer. What does that mean? Well, it means unlike the COSC, which is a 5-position test of a bare movement, this is a 6-position test of the cased-up watch, also testing water resistance, power reserve, shock resistance, and anti-magnetism. It's a standard developed in conjunction with the Swiss Federal Institute of Metrology, and it applies to the whole watch. Reach out to me, tmosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details. Back with Snoopy on the dark side of the moon.